A logistical nightmare for Liverpool.
Sadio Mane's private jet has been held up. He'll land in the UK just hours before a potential title decider at Anfield. So will he play on Tuesday night?
In this moment, no idea. I have to look in his eyes, see whatever is possible.
Branislav looks set to end his 9-year spell at Chelsea.
David Moyes turns to some more familiar faces in his bid to keep Sunderland in the Premier League.
As West Ham's cult hero's reputation is in tatters, Payet, though, says he will miss the club. Hello, welcome to the programme. Liverpool's main man, Mane, is yet to return to Liverpool. His private jet will only land on Tuesday morning, hours before their huge clash against the league leaders, Chelsea.
Yeah, in light of that, his boss, Jurgen Klopp, says Mane might not play. He will only decide once he's looked into his eyes. The Liverpool boss is trying to remain upbeat, despite 3 consecutive defeats in all competitions. Ian Irving has more.
Jurgen Klopp just about managed to smile as he sat down to his press conference earlier, despite the problems piling up for the Liverpool manager. Sadio Mane's return has been hailed as a potential remedy, but even that has gone wrong, making him a major doubt to face Chelsea.
We had the plane there, but it was not allowed to go in the plane, so we had to to wait and to bring the plane from A to B. Now it's all good, and he will be here this night at some point, and then we have to make a decision. In this moment, no idea. I have to look in his eyes, see whatever is possible with him, and then make a decision.
In Mane's absence, Liverpool have won just once in their last 8 matches, a run which has left them out of both domestic cups and 10 points off the pace in the Premier League title race. And now the club are fighting to salvage anything from their season.
The next, I don't know how many days, 100 and something, are really important for us, and I would give the advice to everybody who wants to help. Stay positive. There's no reason for anything else. Absolutely not. And if you want, you're absolutely welcome. And actually, in the short term, it would help a lot against Chelsea.
The scrutiny has only increased on Klopp as January has gone on, but it seems he hasn't been tempted to look for a solution in the transfer market, although he admits long-term his squad does need improving.
Of course, we need for the future, we need players, our players plus a few new faces, that's clear, but that was clear before the season. And in this moment we need, and I think there are a lot of reasons for it, we need, especially, we as a team, we need faith, belief, all that stuff.
Jurgen Klopp says he can feel a sense of depression around this club at the moment, and that mood would only worsen if Liverpool were to record their 4th defeat in a row here against Chelsea for the first time in 94 years. Ian Irving at Anfield for Premier League News.
Well, Chelsea, meanwhile, have the luxury of being 10 points clear of Klopp's side, but that hasn't stopped Antonio Conte from labelling this week as a pivotal one. Yeah, they're off to Anfield before hosting fellow title rivals Arsenal on Saturday. Conte knows 2 wins would put them in pole position, as James Burford now explains.
Back in September, Chelsea were beaten by Liverpool and Arsenal in quick succession. Those defeats inspired Antonio Conte's side on a record-equalling Premier League winning spree. And now they face the same 2 teams before the end of the week.
It's a week very important, but also I know that after these games, we have to play 14 games to finish the championship. And for this reason, it's important the result, but doesn't finish the league after these 2 games.
Conte says Liverpool have been unlucky in recent weeks and fully expects them to bounce back quickly, a view that's shared by his players who are wary of the threats Liverpool possess.
No, last game against Liverpool was difficult. They play very well, they have a good player, good team. Tomorrow is going to be a difficult game, I think. But I think it's different. In this moment we are first, we are good confidence, and we hope to come back with points.
Outgoing transfers seem to be the most likely business that will happen before the window closes. Goalkeeper Asmir Begovic wants to leave in search of first-team football. He only joined the club in 2015. And Branislav Ivanovic, at the club since 2008, looks destined to leave as well, with Zenit St. Petersburg a likely option.
Yeah, he played a lot of games for this club, and he won a lot for this club. And he's 32, and I think he can play for many years, and he's able to continue his career in the right way and top level. Yes, but it's important also to respect the decision of the player.
Victory for Chelsea tomorrow night would see them move 13 points clear of Liverpool. A chance then for Antonio Conte and his players to deliver a hammer blow in the title race. James Burford at Chelsea's training ground for Premier League News.
Crystal Palace's new signing Patrick van Aanholt says he needed a change in life.
Yeah, it's not much of a change in terms of his approach to football. He's still in a relegation battle, of course, but he swapped the North East for London. Nigel Adderley is live for us at Selhurst Park. Nigel, is Van Aanholt confident his new side can stay in the Premier League then?
Yes, he is, and of course he's working with somebody he knows very well in Sam Allardyce. Both men were at Sunderland in very similar circumstances last season. They looked to be heading for relegation before another remarkable escape. And Van Aanholt himself scored against Everton in the game which ultimately clinched their survival. And he's in no doubt this is the right time to move.
I think I needed a change from Sunderland. Been there 2.5 years. And obviously last year I worked with the manager Sam, and as soon as he signed for Palace, I was like, could be an opportunity to go to Palace, and obviously Palace is a great club, great fans, and yeah, I spoke to the manager a couple of times, and he was really interested in signing me, and it made my choice easy, of course.
Nigel, it's a busy time there. What about Sam Allardyce? Do you think he's looking to add more players to his squad before the deadline?
Well, he said he's tried to sign between 20 and 30 players during this transfer window. He spoke about half a dozen potential more targets with the chairman, Steve Parish, yesterday, with the view to maybe bringing in 1 or 2 more before the deadline passes. Of course, it's a difficult time here. Confidence is low. They were beaten by Everton in their previous home game. And bearing that in mind, I asked him if the existing squad have what it takes to survive.
I'm trying to build the confidence and try not to knock them too much, but, you know, I'm obviously being constructively critical on the things that they're doing wrong. I think I have to be that, but not going around screaming and shouting, but trying to point out that we must get better in certain stages of a game.
And of course, whoever pulls on the Palace shirt needs to hit the ground running. In the short term, they've got their next 2 home games here against Sunderland and Middlesbrough. Teams around them. It really is a key part of the season.
Yeah, very important. Thanks, Nigel. Now, Sunderland have been quick to move. They've replaced Van Aanholt with Brian Oviedo from Everton, and his teammate Darren Gibson comes with him as well. Rob Scanlon's at the Stadium of Light for us. Rob, is there a sense that familiarity between the manager and his new players could help them settle in there quickly?
Yes, you often hear, don't you, managers saying that new players need time to adapt, but that shouldn't be the case this time around, that's for sure, because both Brian Oviedo and Darren Gibson have played in the Premier League for a few years now, and they've both worked under David Moyes before. Moyes signed the pair in 2012 when he was in charge of Everton. He's brought in Oviedo on a 3.5-year contract, whilst Gibson has signed an 18-month deal. Now, neither player will be eligible to play against Tottenham here on Tuesday night, but Gibson, who has been asked to score goals by his manager, is desperate to get started.
Obviously, I understand it's going to be tough, but I think we've got a good group of lads here, and there's good character in the dressing room, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can start getting some results. Obviously, the manager brought me from Man United to Everton, and I think I played some of my best football under him at Everton. So when I got the phone call, there wasn't really much discussion about it, to be honest.
Now, managers often sign players that they know well. Gus Poyet, during his time here, signed a couple of Brighton players. Dick Advocat brought in Jermaine Lens and has since signed him since moving on from the Stadium of Light. David Moyes has certainly gone down that route. The arrivals of the two players today, Oviedo and Gibson, mean that it's now 9 players in the Sunderland squad that he has worked with before. Only Jack Rodwell hasn't been signed since Moyes arrived in the summer. He just needs a goalkeeper and a striker to complete the set, you could say. Why is he recruited like this? Well, I think partly because of the limited funds that Moyes has had to deal with, and also Sunderland's perilous league position. So he's going with players that he thinks he can trust and rely on. He says a striker is his next priority. He would like Leonardo Ulloa. One thing's for certain, it looks like Sunderland aren't finished yet in this transfer window.
OK, thanks, Rob. Rob's at Sunderland for us tomorrow on transfer deadline. I think it could be a busy one.
Well, speaking of which, Paul Belveston's in the studio at the touchscreen to find out, amongst other things, who Everton will use to replace.
They're very keen on a Burnley centre-back, Georgie. 24-year-old Michael Keane. Ronald Koeman's confirmed that to us in the last couple of hours, that he's definitely looking at him. Not so much Ashley Young. Rumours of an interest there, he says, are completely fabricated. But no, Michael Keane he's very interested in, although wouldn't be drawn on whether a deal could be done before the deadline.
It's a young English defender, and of course he is... but I heard he's on more lists in different teams. I think we are looking for everybody on that position, what we need for next season or even for the future in the club.
Now, Keane's current club, Burnley, they're closing in on a big deal, we believe, although things have gone a bit quiet in the last few hours. We thought a deal for Robbie Brady would be confirmed about a few hours ago now, really. He's been linked with a return back to the Premier League with a number of clubs. We thought it was going to be Burnley. No confirmation yet. Could still happen, though, about 30 hours to go. He used to play for Hull, of course, who want about 3 or 4 new players before that deadline. One of those we think could be Max Gradle. Eddie Howe at Bournemouth tells us that he could well move before the deadline. And there's a report this afternoon that Adelaide Guerriora, a deal for £3 million, a fee has been agreed between the two clubs. Now that he's back from the Africa Cup of Nations, where he was playing with Algeria, alongside Islam Slimani and Riyad Mahrez. And one of their Leicester teammates is not happy at all. Leo Ulloa has taken to social media in the last couple of hours to say he feels betrayed by Leicester and will not play for Claudio Ranieri again. He really does want to leave Leicester in this transfer window. And before his outburst on Twitter, the manager seemed quite sympathetic.
Yes, I know it's very, very anxious, but we don't change our mind. For us it's important. We don't want to sell him.
You don't want to sell him?
Also, I don't want, because he have just Slimani, a target man, and I need another target man.
Might not be quite as sympathetic now, and Aitor Karanka's very unhappy himself. He's missed out on Snodgrass and Bojan, and now Jesse Rodriguez looks like he's heading to Las Palmas and has taken a pay cut to do that rather than the Riverside, and Fulham insists Tom Cairney's not moving either. And with Middlesbrough slipping into relegation trouble with only 1 win in 8, Aitor Karanka's at a loss to explain why the club can't get in the players he wants.
I don't know, and I don't want to know. This is it.
Whether it's players coming in or going out?
No, the club knows my thoughts 1.5 months ago. So the transfer window's finished tomorrow, and we'll see what is happening.
Not happy at all. One deal we think could happen around Middlesbrough is on the way out. Jordan Rhodes, perhaps heading to Villa Park. He's of interest to Steve Bruce. We're led to believe he could pay about £8 million, we think.
Thank you. If your club wasn't covered, they're either not doing any business or Paul will be back with more in the next segment of the show. Now, it's an exceptional end of an exceptional year. A quote, not our words, but those of Dimitri Payet. He finally sealed his move back to French side Olympique Marseille.
Well, I'm not sure the West Ham fans will think so fondly of him after events in the recent weeks, but the club's players are firmly looking to the future now, as Simon Watts reports.
He was the poster boy of West Ham's first season at the London Stadium. But Dimitri Payet has left amid accusations of lacking commitment and respect. The club say it wasn't about money, but because the manager and his teammates wanted him out.
When you see how good he was for us last season, and you know how much of a big player he was, it's sad when he's come out and said that he didn't want to play for us. But I think now we just need to look forward and put it behind us. I'm sure as many of the lads are glad that it's kind of over now and we can focus on being a team and moving forward.
Speaking after his move today, Payet said, "I lived an exceptional year at West Ham. I have a great memory of the fans of the club. Going back to Marseille is a personal choice. I no longer felt well at West Ham. I needed to return to my roots. Marseille is a very pleasant city to live in." While Payet wanted out, another in-demand player has been sold on West Ham's ambition. Wanted by a number of clubs, Robert Snodgrass opted to switch from Hull City and is already seen as a ready-made replacement for Payet.
I know Snod's back from Leeds. He was in the team when I was coming through, so I know the quality he can bring, and I'm delighted for him to get a move to a big club like West Ham, and you see what he's done for Hull this year, so it's brilliant that we can have him here.
It has been one of the most drawn out and messy of transfer sagas in this January window, but now Dimitri Payet's move to Marseille is being completed. It seems as though West Ham are keen to erase the memory of the whole incident ahead of their game against Manchester City on Wednesday. Simon Watts at West Ham United for Premier League News.
Paul Clement says Swansea's transfer business is more or less done and he can concentrate on facing Southampton. Swansea host Claude Puel's men on Tuesday night, looking to build on their fabulous league win at Anfield. Let's go to Francis Donovan at the Liberty Stadium. Fran, it looks like you might be one of the only reporters in the country with a quiet transfer deadline day.
You're still going to pay me, right? No, I'm joking on that one, Georgie. Yeah, it's looking as though it's going to be fairly quiet, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm given to understand from Paul Clement in his press conference that a loan deal for Marvin Emnes to go back to Blackburn is more or less complete. Transfer deadline day itself, the only business we're expecting to see is Neil Taylor going to Aston Villa for himself, and a fee of around about £5 million, we think, going that way, with Jordan Ayew heading to Swansea, although he's still at the Africa Cup of Nations at the moment. Clement was also quick to say that they won't be signing Lisandro Lopez from Benfica, and he can now concentrate on the technical area rather than the telephone or the fax machine.
I have 4 centre-backs at the club, and I think if I was to say at this point that's they're the 4 that we're going to continue with. There's a player we were interested in, but it didn't go any further than that. My feeling at this point is when the Taylor, so incoming, when Ayew's done, it'll be it.
But obviously, if anything else does happen, Georgie, you can guarantee I will bring it to you, no doubts about that. As you mentioned, they are playing Southampton, hosting Southampton here at the Liberty Stadium, wanting to put together back-to-back wins and build some momentum that has seen them climb out of the relegation zone, but they're really going to want to build on that. One of their new signings, Luciano Narsing, Paul Clement is hoping and expecting that he will be fit to play against Southampton, so that'll be an interesting sight to see him for the first time.
Sure, we'll find a way to keep you busy. Thank you, Francis Donovan. Right, stay with us in part 2. We'll look at why Spurs and Arsenal are set for very quiet deadline days. Danny Welbeck's back in form, and he's among the goals.
And Heung-min Son never went away. He's firmly part of Pochettino's plans.
Welcome back. Good news, Liverpool fans. Sadio Mane is on his way back to the Premier League to aid their title hopes.
There's bad news, though. He won't be landing in the UK until Tuesday morning. Jurgen Klopp isn't sure if he'll play against Chelsea and will only decide when he looks into his eyes. Spooky, isn't it, that? Arsene Wenger has confirmed that Arsenal won't sign any players in the January transfer window, thanks in part to the return of Danny Welbeck.
Yes, Welbeck scored twice in their FA Cup fourth-round tie against Southampton, giving Wenger a good but different kind of striker problem, as Aaron Armstrong reports.
Arsenal fans had 5 reasons to be satisfied at Southampton on Saturday, 2 of those coming from a player whose huge promise has been undermined by injury problems. Arsene Wenger has welcomed Danny Welbeck's return to form and fitness, but has urged supporters to be patient with his progress.
He's very sharp, but you know, we're still not out of it completely. We have still to manage the times we use him and the times where we rest him for a while. I think in the next months after he will be, of course, hopefully completely fit.
In terms of goals scored, Arsenal with 50 are second only to Liverpool this season, and the return of Welbeck and Theo Walcott gives the side a different dimension, one which could be crucial for Arsenal's title challenge. But Wenger accepts having a wealth of strikers brings with it some issues.
We have
scored many goals since the start of the season, and Danny was not there. So to add him as well to the squad gives us huge offensive potential. Now I have to use the strikers well in the right moment and without destroying the balance of the team.
A fully fit squad is another factor in Wenger's insistence that he won't make any signings in the window, but he accepts that a round of fixtures on deadline day could make last-minute deals more tricky.
Managers have a bit less their eye on the transfer than on the game, you know, because they have the game to prepare. But I believe that there are people now inside the clubs who take care of the transfer.
Deadline day then won't be a distraction for Arsene Wenger, but despite his insistence that their business is done, they've once again been linked with Real Madrid's Karim Benzema. Why the annual speculation, Wenger was asked? Because he's French, was his answer. But Wenger does have other striker problems, albeit good problems. Which ones to start against Watford? Aaron Armstrong for Premier League News.
Not a fan of the transfer window in January, Arsene Wenger, and we're not expecting any late business from Arsenal, but plenty elsewhere. Here's Paul with more.
Shall we go to China, Georgie? Because that's where Odion Ighalo has been linked with a move to many times in the last few weeks. And now there's a suggestion a £20 million bid has been accepted by Watford in the last couple of hours after he scored just twice this season, 17 goals last season. We mentioned Guedior already. Jerome Sinclair could also be heading out the exit door at Vicarage Road, being linked with a move to the Midlands and Birmingham. Also in the Midlands, of course, West Brom. Now, we heard about Branislav Ivanovic earlier in the programme. Tony Pulis insists he was never interested in him. Wouldn't talk about 3 other Chelsea youngsters who could be heading to the Hawthorns on loan. Did talk about Callum Wilson. He's after a striker, and with Wilson now not by any means an automatic choice under Eddie Howe at Bournemouth, he made an inquiry.
I spoke to Eddie actually about a week ago and asked him if Wilson, I'd been told Wilson might be available. So I rang the manager up and spoke to the manager directly. He said no, and I've not pursued it since, although the papers seem to be pursuing it.
We're expecting Southampton to have a busy final 24 hours or so. 3 players possibly coming in. Serdar Taski is the man they've identified to fill the gap in the centre of their defence, with Jose Font moving to West Ham and Virgil van Dijk being injured, of course. He's available on a free in the summer, perhaps about £4 million now. And Manolo Gabbiadini reportedly on his way to Southampton right now after suggestions of £17 million fee has been agreed in Italy for the striker just in the last couple of hours. And another goalkeeper, a 5th on their books if he does complete. Muez Hassen, someone that Claude Puel knows well from their time in Nice. That would be on loan. Just one quickly, we heard from Crystal Palace earlier. There's a suggestion Luka Milivojevic is on his way to Selhurst Park right now.
Thanks, Paul. Paul, a busy day. It's going to be even busier tomorrow. Paul will be back with the latest from the touchscreen. Tottenham's Heung-min Son believes the Tottenham squad have a stronger mentality compared to this time last season.
Spurs are still in the race for the Premier League title, as well as 2 cup competitions, as Ali Shaw now reports.
A quite incredible FA Cup tie against League 2 Wycombe saw Spurs snatch a stoppage-time winner to see them through to the next round. Back in training, Spurs' trademark show of unity was evident, and the match winner at the weekend believes the cornerstone to their success is their mindset.
Mentality is really strong because our players are really young and they're still everyone hungry. You know, they have to go 1 more step or 2 more steps more. It's like same against Man City. We went 2-0 down, and you know, in the end we scored 2 goals and we got 1 point there.
It's back to league action on Tuesday, and Spurs will travel to Sunderland after dropping points against Manchester City to face a David Moyes side who are fighting for their lives at the foot of the table. Sunderland have shown what they can do on their day by recently holding Liverpool to a draw, and as the manager has said, there are no easy games in this league.
Every game in Premier League is important, and we are in a position that it's important for us to get the 3 points. It's true that it will be a tough game because Sunderland need point too, and always it's tough to play on Premier League, but our idea, our objective is to try to get the 3 points.
There can be little doubt that the title race is well and truly on. And whilst other clubs have been busy in this transfer window, Maurizio Pochettino has confirmed that there's a mere 0.01% chance of him doing any business before the window closes. Ali Shaw at Spurs training ground for Premier League News.
Well, with the Premier League returning in just over 24 hours' time, we'll have all the build-up to all of the action. Jurgen Klopp needs to find a win, and quick, after 3 home defeats and 2 cup exits in the space of a week ahead of the visit of Chelsea. We'll look at Liverpool's good record against other top 6 sides this season.
And Antonio Conte says he won't take Liverpool's slump in form lightly. The Italian will see it as a huge chance to make it 15 wins in the last 16 Premier League games.
And Arsene Wenger has a selection headache. It's a good one. Alexis Sanchez, Olivier Giroud, Theo Walcott and now Danny Welbeck all jostling to start against Watford.
7 fixtures on Tuesday night. Here's how the fixtures stack up in the next couple of days as the Premier League returns. So, as we said, it's Arsenal against Watford. You've also got Crystal Palace against Bournemouth, with Sam Allardyce still looking for his first win since he joined there. Sunderland against Tottenham Hotspur. Quite a lot of changes made by many of these teams in the FA Cup this weekend to prioritise these midweek games.
Absolutely a crucial game at the Liberty Stadium for Swansea City against Southampton. Can they get them out of the bottom? The big game, undeniably, is Liverpool against Chelsea at Anfield. All eyes will be on that big game, with a potentially title-defining fixture, that one between league leaders Chelsea and 4th-placed Liverpool.
All eyes on Sadio Mane. He's on a private jet on the way back from the Africa Cup of Nations, but it's been delayed. Jurgen Klopp says he'll need to look into his eyes to see if he plays against Chelsea.